This video is about my favourite spinach pies, within which I use lots of different greens that I pick from the garden. So these here are sweet potato leaves, and I've also picked some chard, otherwise known as silver beet, and some parsley. So it really can be up to you which greens you use in these spinach and ricotta pies. Whatever you've got around, whatever you can find, all greens are good and we all need to eat more of them. So whatever you can find. I'm going to be making one of my favourite dishes of all time. It's the humble spinach and ricotta pie. Obviously mine won't have ricotta. I'm going to be using silken tofu to replace the ricotta. And this is a great example of using tofu in a non-traditional way that actually, in my opinion, brings the best out of it. This tofu crumbles exactly like ricotta. So when we mash that, it's going to turn to the perfect consistency. So what we need to do to start is just blanch these greens. Now I've got a mix of greens here, but just use whatever greens you can get your hands on. Preferably not too much kale because it's a bit tough. Preferably lots of this. This is chard or silver beet, rainbow chard, that sort of thing, or even just good old-fashioned English spinach will all do the job. Now one of the best things about this recipe is that we use the whole plant when we're using chard. So take the leaves off, and then these stalks here, which are absolutely bursting with flavour and natural mineral salts, are going to be fried up with the onions to create the most delicious, tasty base to this pie filling. So as you're stripping the leaves, do keep the stalks aside. Wash your greens in the sink to remove any dirt, and then put them in a pot of boiling water to quickly blanch. Not too long, but just long enough to soften them. Then pour them into a colander and follow that with some cold water to stop them cooking. Set aside to drain. So I'm just going to finely chop these stalks to fry with the onion. Okay, so into a hot frying pan with olive oil. Follow it with plenty of salt to help them sweat. And let it saute down. So we're just mincing up some garlic to go in. To finely minced garlic, add rosemary, thyme, and sage, or any mixed herbs that you can find, even dried will do. Finely chop them with the garlic to make sure that their flavour is evenly distributed. So that onion and stalk mix is just beautiful now. Look at that colour. The beautiful red from the rainbow chard has come out and stained the onion to this lovely crimson caramel mixture that really is where a lot of the flavour from these pies comes from. This step is really quite important to making these that bit more special. So now we're ready to combine everything. We've just got one more thing to do first, and that's chop up our greens. So these are strained and then squeezed all that moisture out because you don't want the pies to end up soggy. So I'm just going to give them a quick chop up now, just so we can mix them through the whole filling evenly. And once more over them. So we're going to start with the silken tofu, which has been straining in a colander for a little while now to get rid of that moisture. So just like ricotta, it kind of has a way that we need to drain out. So that's what we've done there. And now we're going to pop it into the bowl and I'm going to give it a little mash. So you can use a potato masher or a fork, and you're going to see that it's going to transform to the exact texture of ricotta. That easy. There we go, a bowl of ricotta, minus the fat and all those sort of things, so a much lighter end result. Into that, we're going to put in our chopped greens, and I just like to sort of break them up as they fall in, just to make sure they're well distributed. And then I've got my minced garlic and herbs here, so really nicely finely chopped so that we can get that flavour throughout. Okay, now in terms of flavour, we need some nutritional yeast, which is going to add a bit of a cheesy edge to this filling, and plenty of seasoning. So remember, this is a pie that would usually have cheese in it, and cheese is very high in salt. So to make up for that, we need to season appropriately. So plenty of salt in there, because it's the equivalent of adding plenty of something like cheddar. Okay, and then our big flavour bomb is this lovely caramelised stork and onion mix. In that goes. Okay, let's mix it all together. Okay, so it's time to assemble them. So this is just a standard puff pastry, and puff pastry is one of those things that's accidentally vegan, which is very convenient and helpful for us because these are super diverse pastry sheets that can be used for sweet or savoury. So in this case, we're just going to put a little bit of the filling on both tops of them, and you know, if you want to be crafty and make these into some beautiful shapes, please do. I'm just going to show you the basic version just to show you how simple these can be for a weeknight dinner or something like that. You know, it doesn't have to be fancy, they're going to taste great, and that's the main thing. I personally like more filling than pastry, so I like to make these mounds quite high, but if you're more of a pastry person, you might want less, so it's up to you. Okay, something like that. And then simply a line down the middle and fold. How simple is that? So all you need to do now is a touch of water on the fingertips and just a little bit on top. And this isn't like an egg wash because that really isn't necessary. When you buy bought puff pastry, you just don't need egg on top. You're going to see these are going to turn very, very golden and gorgeous without it. But what it is for is to make these nigella seeds stick. So this can be any seed like chia, sesame. I just like to use nigella because that black is a really nice contrast color-wise. That's all it needs. It doesn't even need them really, but if you want to put something on top, that's how you do it. Okay, and into the oven. Really quite simple. After 35 to 40 minutes, they'll be beautifully golden like this. I like to serve them with some roast veggies, particularly mushrooms and balsamic caramelised tomatoes. A bit of fresh parsley and they're a complete meal. Absolutely delicious.